those who wish to vote for Ellen Zoppo-Sassu signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I know that many of you are surprised to actually see me standing here. This has not been a ploy. I was not being coy. I was not being provocative. But I really wanted to make sure that the Democratic Town Committee was in a good place, and that by doing so, that we all candidates standing before you tonight were in a good place. And I have to say that the campaign group that got together about 8 weeks ago, after I made a series of demands and ultimatums, really did a great job. And for those people out in the community who thought that the Democratic Party was desperately searching for candidates, I beg to differ, because we knew at that point that we had to carefully construct the best possible slate with the most diverse and strategically placed candidates across the spectrum of socioeconomics and neighborhoods, but with that glue, that mission, and the statements that were going to bind us together and really renew what the Democratic Party has stood for years. So tonight, we have our A team. But in my mind, I actually think it's an A+ team, with the addition first of Rippy Patton, and then Patty Bentley, and then Myra, Bob, and Dave. Well, it was easy for me to finally make a decision, which did happen this weekend. And let me be clear, I'm not doing this simply because we do have a spot to fill at the top. It's more than that. I'm very content working on policies and projects, and I was very content to stay in what I thought would be a very safe council seat. But I changed my mind. I probably changed my mind 35 times during the month of June if you talk to Calvin, Rippy, and Mary. But for tonight, I think that finally we're in a good place. And to Joe Grabowski, welcome. The man looking down at you, James P. Casey, stormed the Democratic Town Committee in 1941 at the age of 23 and got the endorsement and went on to be mayor. You have a great and bright future here with this party as well as this community. So obviously yesterday I knew that I had to come up with a speech, and some of you may have heard some allusions to the fact that I like to make speeches and I like to make long speeches, but I'm not going to do that tonight. But I do want to say that I was looking for inspiration. It was a busy weekend. We had a graduation party, and I was pressed for time. So I thought I would go back and reread some of the infamous speeches from that infamous year, 2007, and thought, well, maybe there's some quotes or some inspiration that I could maybe borrow, since I really did write those speeches the first time. Maybe I could just use parts of them again. Sadly, I could have stood here tonight and I could have delivered that speech from 2007 tonight, and you wouldn't have known the difference. And that's unacceptable. It's time to start the conversation about where we want to go in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's time to eliminate the fear factor about what these people in this town, our citizens, our taxpayers, our neighbors, fear about progress, about the inferiority complex that we have, and why we can't get something going. The fear factor about taxes, about what that's going to mean individually to people. I guess it's an effective tactic because it's worked in the last 4 years. But I'm here to tell you something. This year, right now, there are $19.8 million projects being carried in the city budget under capital improvement. $19.8 million. And I think that there's probably not one person in this room who could name any one of those projects. Not you, you don't qualify. Projects are carried. They are part of what we do in the government. It's the same as if the money that we spend every year on bunker gear for the fire department or lawnmowers for the park department and fire department. We have equipment, we have salary. That's what we do. That's how we pay for things. And when you balance and when you're planful and you're thoughtful, that does not ripple the municipal budget. We can have positive projects that improve our quality of life. Muzzy Field is the perfect example of this. We've invested and are continuing to invest millions of dollars. We've provided summer jobs for young people in this town and an opportunity to showcase one of Bristol's historic gems. Memorial Boulevard is no different. It's the same philosophy. Arts, music, and the theater could be the catalyst for downtown. In drawing people to cultural and arts, we help other businesses. We help strengthen our neighborhoods, and we help the bottom line, which is our property values. The economic spin-off, we've done the research, and we know our report is solid. It's time to reinvest here the same way we've invested in Muzzy Field, and the Bristol Senior Center, the parks, and other projects, without the double standard and the demand that we create a return on investment. It's time to invest in Bristol's own residents, and the city should pave the way with an aggressive push on local hiring and preferential hiring. It bolsters our middle class when we have people who have quality jobs with affordable health care. It helps them maintain their homes, maybe even buy their own home. There are hundreds of local men and women in this town who could be a fireman, a police officer, a teacher, and a cafeteria worker, and they deserve those jobs because that's going to bolster our middle class. Great jobs mean a stronger middle class, well cared for properties, disposable income, and a thriving school system. It's also time to take code enforcement to the next level. It's one thing to knock down deteriorated structures, but I think it's even more important to build something new, and that's a policy discussion that we've yet to have. Parcels left vacant, for example, could be subject to a new ordinance and a vacant property tax. That would be an innovative policy. People who are investing and don't want to do something with their property should not do it on the backs of us, the taxpayers who are living here. Incentives should also be given to the banks to move their properties, blighted or vacant, over to the nonprofits who could do rehab and sweat equity programs, create first buyer homeowner opportunities, and get home ownership and owner-occupied people back in the neighborhoods that are targeted for reinvestment. The city of Bristol has a $180 million budget, and it's also time to have the community conversation again and create a dialogue about whether we need a city manager and more professional management at City Hall. As many of you know, I have my master's in public affairs from UConn, where I got a degree following my time at Providence College. I do believe that the city's lack of progress in certain areas, such as downtown, is tied to our lack of professional management. Other towns around us are moving ahead, and while we debate and distract, we're left behind. It's time to act, and it's time for the pendulum to swing back before the ticking clock is all that we hear. Last week, we accepted the report from the Memorial Boulevard Task Force, which has already been mentioned tonight, and it's a great body of work. Interestingly, someone was here from the New Britain Arts Organization interested in space, and yes, there are people interested in space. There is a long list of people who want to rent. There are revenue opportunities. She was not from Bristol, and she said to me after the meeting, half joking, "What's up with your clock? Is it always 8 o'clock here in Bristol?" And I said, there are some days it certainly feels that way. So let's get the pendulum swinging back to the right side. I believe that it's the time for this slate to make a difference, and I think that we are going to bring people back. I think the problems of the past with our party have healed, and it's always the issue with the majority party. We have disagreements, and we're like a big family, and we fight. But I think that day is gone, and I think that the time is now to participate in a positive manner, whether it be campaigning or when we're elected. The positive tone is what's needed. However, in Bristol, as many of you know, we have our internet friends. They like to say lots of fun things, and we have to rise above that. I think that on any given day, we know that this isn't about partisan politics. As Bob said, it's about our town, our neighborhood, and we need to take a stand, and we need to have integrity, and we need to move beyond it. However, I would like to take a moment to say that this weekend I also did have this clarity moment occur, in that I think that the whole internet troll piece is designed to keep people from seeking elected office, because we've lost potential candidates. They don't want to enter the fray because they know that they're going to be attacked, that their families are going to be attacked, that all of this is going to happen, and they don't have the stomach for it. But I'm going to stand here tonight and tell you that it doesn't bother me. Maybe it did in the past, but it doesn't bother me anymore because I see those people for who they are, non-participatory. Totally entitled to their opinion, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't bother me. I'm actually going to go through a quick list of some of the things that have been said that have not scared me off. I dress like my grandmother. I guess the issue becomes, which grandmother are they talking about? Is it the Italian immigrant grandmother? Because I do like my black tights, but I don't wear them in the summer. Are they talking about my mother's mother, who kind of had a little Chanel thing going on? I'm okay with that. I don't know the meaning of the word egregious. Adjective, Latin roots, conspicuously offensive. She could lose 20 pounds and her hair is a hot mess. Well, I'll claim 10 pounds any given day. And the hair tonight is courtesy of Sassu Cuts, which is a fruit commercial for my brother-in-law. So. This is my favorite one. Her husband's a saint. The police officer of the year contest was fixed.
You did a heck of a speech there.
She doesn't have a personality or a sense of humor. Well, I think that was my daughter on Facebook. And that's, it is what it is, I guess. So, I promise, as your endorsed candidate for the second time, let's get it right this time, to uphold the highest ethical standards, both, again, on the campaign trail, as well as when we all take that oath on Monday night, November 9th. So mark it in your books. I really appreciate everyone's support. It's been a long road. Being on the council in the minority is not something that I've ever been before. My 3 previous terms, I served under 3 different mayors, but we always had the majority. It's been an interesting process, and I think that all the hard work from everybody tonight working to get us to this point with this A+ list of candidates is going to propel us to November very easily. But we need to see you at headquarters. We need to have that big tent philosophy, and we need to have everybody under the tent. So, thank you.